Alright, so today what we're going to do is we're going to do some planar tracking, some little particle effects that have a little motion tracking with them also, and then a little shape following a hand motion, all on green screen. So we're going to do green screen effect as well. So what I'm going to do is we shot some footage, but this was shot in the XAVC codec from Sony, and After Effects can work with the XAVC codec just fine. But if we're going to be doing planar tracking, we have to use Mocha for AE, which doesn't support the MXF file format. So first thing I'm going to do is convert this to something that's going to be really After Effects friendly. Here's my MXF. It's this, I made it green screen 2016, and drop that into Adobe Media Encoder. And let's go into our settings. I want something to be less compressed. All right. I'm actually going to do two versions for those of you who are going to be using Windows. So there may be different outcomes if you're using Windows, but I'm going to go ahead and just use the ProRes 422 HQ. And I have to do match source so that it's still 1920 by 1080, same frame rate, everything, but I always turn on maximum depth and maximum render quality. Click OK. Where I'm going to put this is on the M drive so you can all access it in the 2534 folder, or 3634 folder, green screen. And so there's the original MXF, there's green screen 2016.mov, but I'm going to add an output to this, and I'm going to make an MP4 that's a higher bitrate MP4 so that you can all have, so if you're using Windows, you'll have a nice high bitrate H.264 file that you can use. This might be more compressed than the MOV file, but if you don't have the ProRes codec, then just go back, fall back to this, and it should look pretty good. So that should be going to the same place as well. So I'm going to hit play there, and I'll check back with you when this render is done. Alright, so our next step is to import these into After Effects. I'm going to be working with the .mov, but if you want to work with the MP4, that's totally fine. I'm going to copy this MP4 over, or the MOV, over to my desktop, green screen 2016. I guess I should make an assets folder. I'm going to move this JPEG here and put my .mov in there also. I'm going to have one more asset other than these, so having one asset folder with all your assets is totally fine. Alright, so quick way to get there, drag that into the import box, and there it highlights it on the computer. Click open, and now we have our video file that's been imported. If I just drag this video file down to the new composition icon in the project panel, that'll create a new composition that matches the frame rate and frame size of this video. So right now in my time code it says 4 hours, 53 minutes, 22 seconds, and 20 frames. It started there because I didn't reset the time code on my camera when I shot this. So if we want it to start at 0, then we can hit Command K on our keyboard to bring up our composition settings, and then just change the start time code to 0. Click OK, and now we have a timeline that's just over 15 seconds long. Now I want to trim this timeline to the length of the video that I'm interested in, which would be roughly before she comes in. So with my playhead right there, I'm going to hit B for beginning, And then I'm going to scrub toward the end when she finishes her last pose right there and hit N for end.
M for end or M?
N. So like
Newt.
newt. Turned me into a newt. All right, and then right click on the work area bar and select trim comp to work area. Now our all I did was just reset the beginning and end to match that in and out point that we set with the B and N keys. All right, so first thing I want to do, because if this doesn't work, we'll lose the least amount of work if we have to start this tutorial over, is we're going to motion track this sign that she's holding in her hands right here. Bing, there it goes. So let's go with our green screen 2016 video file selected in the timeline, go up to animation and select track in Mocha AE, and that will launch Mocha. Here is a previous Mocha opening. All right, so right here it's already got preloaded the location, which is my desktop, the green screen project, assets, results, and then it's importing that clip. So After Effects loads in everything that you're going to need for your Mocha project. So all you have to do here is click OK. If you're going to be really controlling of where your files go, you can change the location of this project. If you want to make your own Mocha folder, you can put it there. Other than that, we're good to go. So the entire clip is loaded in, but if you see here, this red bracket and this red bracket over on this side, those are that's the trimmed length of the comp that we set in After Effects before we brought it in here. So if I grab my little playhead here and find a really nice place where this sign is nice and clear, no motion blur going on, this is the point where I want to put a shape around this image. The reason why I picked this is because there's two colors of pixels. There's this white and the brown. But there's a lot of stuff going on inside here that Mocha can track. Now Mocha doesn't want to track a point. It wants to track the entire surface of this paper. So the more stuff that's on here, that gives it more pixels to reference as it's looking inside the shape. So what we have to do is create a shape for it to kind of watch. And I'm going to choose this yellow shape inside. Actually, I'm going to do inside that, but if you do your X-spline layer tool, click on that to access it. Then if I start clicking on this and draw around these words, and like I say, it's almost like the more complex a shape you make that can be really well defined in Mocha, the better. So that looks like a really weird shape, right? But what Mocha is going to do is it's going to look at these words, follow that, look at the garbage can, look at the owl standing next to it, all this stuff inside the shape. That's what it's going to watch. It's not watching the shape itself. It's just going to watch how everything inside it moves. I hope that makes sense. And just so next up we have this stuff is probably going to be okay. This minimum percent pixels used, 50%. If you want to do a really detailed analysis, you can bump that up to like 80 or 90%. 50% is probably okay. She's mostly moving this sideways and rotating it here. She does a little rotation toward the camera at the end. So if we do translation, scale, rotation, and shear, that's probably plenty. We don't need perspective. We might not even need shear, but I'm going to leave it on anyway. Translation is the position where it moves on the screen. Scale is if it moves closer or farther away. Rotation, obviously, she's rotating it in her hands. And then shear would be that kind of rotational movement, the XY rotation, not Z rotation. All right, so let's go to our tracker now. This track backwards key will start analyzing every frame from where our playhead is back to the beginning. And then we would have to return to this spot and go forward. So let's just start tracking backwards. We can go one frame at a time, but I'm going to just see how this does. So click there and watch it go. So we're losing it there. So let's hit stop. That might be okay though, because we don't see it until here. Anyway. So let's actually go here. And add a keyframe right on this frame as it's starting to leave. Let's go back a frame right there. Let's add a keyframe right here. And the way we add a keyframe is we click Add New Keyframe to Current Position. Then on the next frame, we can do analyze one frame backward. Doink. And because it went way off, I'm actually going to just take this whole thing, try to grab this whole thing, and select the layer, and try to, I'm using my arrows now, just try to nudge this over so that it at least is following the motion a little bit better. It's going to be nice and blurry, so that'll help us. And then if we advance back one frame, go to previous frame, then it's just off, and that's where we'll start our effect. We could select one point, hit Command A to select all of them, and try to do a manual moving of it off the screen. But all right, so let's go back to this first keyframe. Let's move the playhead over here and then go click on this little go to next keyframe right here, and that'll put us at our starting point. Now we're going to move forward, analyze it forward. So let's just click on the analyze or track forward button, see how it does. Seems to be doing pretty good. And we lose it there. That's okay. So let's stop. We'll actually, once we get to this frame, we'll just turn the layer off and then let the yellow card show up by itself. So we can take this information and now what we need to do is export that tracking data. So we click on this export tracking data right here, and then we have some different options. We have After Effects corner pin or After Effects transform data. I am probably going to want to try this transform data first. Yes, transform data. So with this loaded in, I can hit copy to clipboard, and then all that data, which is like a big Word doc, like a big text file, just got copied to the clipboard. Now what I can do is tab back to After Effects, and hopefully right now I'm going to create a new solid, Command Y. I'm going to make this 800 by 600. It's arbitrary. And I'm going to make this solid a really weird color, one that I would never use. All right, now with that solid selected, I'm going to hit Command V, and that'll take all that stuff that I copied to the clipboard from Mocha, and it'll paste it there. Now ideally what I just did is the clipboard copied all of the transform data for this area, but I have this much before the tracking starts, which means I'm going to have to actually find the frame where all these keyframes should start. See, position, scale, rotation, all that stuff. So we're going to get this shape is actually, oh, there it is. It actually went to the right spot. So ding. So we have this shape doing this nice movement like that. Okay? Not right yet. But what we can do is import our image that we're going to put on that screen. So let's import our little troll face and drop troll face down onto the timeline. Let's hide red solid for now. I'm going to make troll face less opaque. So I'm going to hit T for opacity, make it 50% so that I can see the sign underneath. And I'm going to go to a place where that sign is nice and clear, which is like right here. Now I want it to be, yeah, right there. Now what I'm going to do is put troll face on top of it. Okay, so let's make it bigger. Try to get that roughly the same size. Change some rotation. W is the rotation tool, so I can rotate it so it kind of matches up right there. V for selection tool, change the scale so that it's a little bit bigger than the actual piece of paper in her hands. Okay, that's probably good enough. Whoa, almost. All right. Now right here, while that's in place, I want to make the troll face follow red solid. Because red solid's moving correctly, it's just too big. So right here, red solid, parent that troll face to red solid. Now watch what happens. It almost works. And I am kind of a novice when it comes to Mocha. Like that part looks pretty good, but there's a lot of other stuff you can do in Mocha to make all that turning of it look really good. The other option could be if we take this tracker and we add another shape. Let's go to our nice keyframe here. If we add another shape that's the exact size of this paper, then we can use this for our corners. And let's take the entire shape, and these little handles, you can actually make this shape less round. So if we make that really, really square, then we've got a nice square thing here for these corners. All right, so if we take this one, this second layer, and we link to track layer 1, then it will follow all the motion tracking that we did inside here. But from that we can take corner pin keyframes, and it'll put the corner pin effect directly onto our troll face. Okay, so it's two methods for doing motion tracking. This one's probably going to work better. So if I export tracking data with this layer 2 selected, and then select After Effects corner pin, let's do this one, After Effects corner pin, copy to clipboard. Then what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to hide this version of the troll face, and I'm going to put a second version down in the timeline. And I'm going to go to the beginning of the timeline and hit Command V, and it'll paste corner pin effects. So if I hit U, there is still position, scale, and rotation, but it adds some corner pinning so that hopefully it would look better. So at this point, what I think I'm going to have to do to make this work better is I need to change my anchor point so that my anchor point will center troll face up on that. And then I need to select S for scale and change my scale to be a little bit bigger as well. Adjust my anchor point slightly. Okay, now let's see if this looks even better. See, we have our twisting, and right here I can adjust this one keyframe because that went way off. I can adjust that one. And I can adjust that one. I can adjust that one. There. So I manually had to adjust a few of them. That looks much better, huh? We even have that right there. That's the last frame. Boop, boop, boop. The scale's kind of off, but let's have that be the last frame of it. Nope, that one needs to be the last frame. Okay. So it disappears and turns into a yellow piece of paper. So if that's confusing to you, go to Imagineer Systems website and watch their tutorials, and hopefully you'll get better at it. Mocha, honestly, is an industry by itself. The stuff you can do in Mocha is crazy. That was not even scratching the tip of the iceberg for Mocha. So there, nice little thing. One last thing I would maybe should do to this is we would need to cut out her finger. Her fingers on top of that, because her fingers need to be on top, right? But that's a very time-consuming thing because it's rotating inside her fingers, which means we would be doing a lot of rotoscoping. And rotoscoping lessons take way too long. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. She throws the piece of paper away. Huh, gone. Now we need to do a little particle effect and make a little flame go in her hand. This will be fun. So let's do a little motion tracking for her hand. So let's double click on the .mov and let's just do a basic motion track of her hand right here. Let's track motion and do transform only. And let's have that point, hold on, I got beeping. Let's put this track over the palm of her hand somewhere. Just have it kind of be a really big point because we're just wanting to get the general motion of her hand. And let's see how this does. Let's just go one frame at a time for now. See how well it tracks. Tracks a little weird there for a second, but then it locks up on her thumb, which is good. It's fine if it locks up on her thumb. I'm still happy with that. Still happy with that. And right here is where the effect will go away. So that's fine. If it moves like that, that'll be gone by there. So let's take, let's go into our timeline again. We've got our layer panel open right now, but that's fine. We just need to make a null object.
Hey Scott, really quick, how did you get current track to show tracker 1?
you have to double click on the green screen 2016 video, and that'll bring up your layer panel. Then you have to go into your tracker panel and select track motion. And that'll put that little point up, and then you can change the size of those boxes. All right. All right, so let's make, did I make one? No. Let's make a new null object, and we need to make the target of this track be the null object that we just created. So let's select the green screen layer, just a single click. Edit target, let's make that the null. Click OK, and then let's click apply. Apply dimensions XY, click OK, and that kicks us back over to our composition panel, where if we take a look at our null now, our null follows where that tracker was. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of effects. We might do a lens flare, we're going to do some particles, a particle emitter, but we're going to have the position of the flare and the position of the particle emitter follow the null object. So whatever we do with our particles, they will follow that null. And same thing with the lens flare, if we add a lens flare. All right, so because I'm getting a little bit confused, I have a failed Mocha experiment with this first troll face JPEG and my red solid, so I'm just going to delete those. Okay, so right now all I've got is troll face that's following the piece of paper, and we have a null object that will suddenly just start following right there and then stop following right there. Okay. We can do more work with this null object if we wanted to. We could just now anywhere we wanted to move the null object, we could tie other things to it, like other lens flares or other particles or write-on effect. All right, so let's create another new solid and have this one be black. And let's make this the size of the composition, because that other one I made a weird size. And then click OK. Let's add the effect Particle Systems 2. So I just went in and started typing in particle, P-A-R-T, because it's a party. Particle Systems 2, let's put that on the black solid, and that'll render the particle systems on top of her. So let's work on our particle itself right now. Do we want to do sparks? Do we want to do smoke? Do we want to do, fire? There might be a preset for fire. So let's solo this layer for a second. And let's go to, so if it's fire, we want it to raise up out of her hand, right? So let's go to physics first and do gravity as a negative gravity so that these fly up. And maybe fire doesn't have a very long life. So let's go to the particle itself and let's make this longevity in seconds. Let's make this like half a second. It's really short. Let's go from, we'll work on the producer in just a minute. Let's go to animation type and let's make it fire. Looks like my gravity just got intuitive with the fire preset. Under direction, that's fine. Extras, flare out, come in. So let's try to leave it in a little bit. Let's have the velocity maybe down a little bit more. Let's see what that even looks like. All right, and then It's fading out. Max opacity is 75%. That's probably fine. Random seed. If we change this, then it only changes at one time. So this is something you want to have be kind of a random thing. Question?
So how do you keep this going the way you want it throughout the whole entire reel?
Do you want the fire to be on the entire time? You mean?
Yeah, if that's what we're doing, for example.
We're only going to have this come on when she opens her hand up. So it's going to be in her hand.
Right. Okay. Kind of like the Monkey 2 with the Dragon Emperor.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. All right, so velocity, let's see, negative velocity, positive velocity. Under particle type, let's make this, let's do something where we can, no, let's just leave it like that. Keep it really cheesy looking. All right, so now let's take the position of the producer, which is going to be the point where this comes out. Whoops, not that. And we need to tie that to the position of our null object. So let's go select the null object, hit P for position so we can see the position of the null. Then let's go to the producer, position of the producer, and Alt-click the stopwatch for the position of the producer. And what that does is it brings up our ability to use the pick whip for the position of the producer. And if we pick whip that to the position of the null object, then only that's like setting up a parent-child relationship for position setting only. Okay, so the position of the producer in the particle systems effect is going to follow the position of the null. Let me do that again. There's a second way. So if I hit Command Z, if I do it in my timeline panel and I twirl down my effects and I go to producer and I Alt-click the position of where the particle producer is, that will reveal an expression. I can type in code and stuff, make it do all sorts of crazy things. But all I want it to do right now is follow the position of the null. So with the null's position showing, if I draw a pick whip to the word position under the null, let go, then it will follow the null's position. It writes the code for you. Okay, so now magically, as soon as that null starts moving, it's going to follow the null. All right, so now what we want to do is we need to keyframe the production of the fire. Okay, we don't want it to be burning and then suddenly just start moving. We want it to like combust in our hand. So let's go in the timeline. Let's stay in the timeline for a second and go to the birth rate of the particles and add a keyframe for the birth rate. And set this to 0. So nothing is being produced. Let's go forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames maybe, and turn the birth rate back up to like 2 or 3 or 4. Let's do 3. Then over those few keyframes, there's like, it starts up, burns, and then as she raises her hand up, it would extinguish again. And if you wanted to, you could do a second particle that would be like a smoke particle. So let's add a keyframe for the birth rate here. Just click on the diamond next to birth rate and then have it be 0 by the time she closes her hand. All right, I was just guessing based on our tracker, but that seems like about where it would go away, right? All right, so let's composite. We need to do a blend mode or a transfer mode. So let's go to toggle switches modes, and under our mode, let's make it screen and unsolo the layer. Actually, no, it was doing just fine before. So if it's normal, then that's what it'll look like. If we do additive modes or multiply modes or darkening modes, they'll all do kind of different things. And I kind of like that the position of it is right, ended up locking up on her thumb, because that's technically still above her palm. So I kind of like that. We don't have to adjust that at all. But if we, at this point though, if we did want to like change where that was sitting above her hand, we would just have to go to the position of the null, select position, which would select all the keyframes, and then we could just nudge it up, and then it would be above her hand. Okay? But I like it sitting kind of in her hand. I think that's pretty cool. So let's take a look at this. And then we're going to have it open up. So the thing I was saying about a second particle is if we wanted to duplicate this layer, we would have two layers with the particle emitter already following the null, already doing what it's supposed to do. At this point, what we would do is change the particle, and maybe what we could do is just change it to, this is a line, what if we changed it to under our physics, we made it twirl? Oh no, that's weird. Let's make it fire still. But let's change the gravity so that it's less, maybe, or more. Yeah, let's make it more, but then have the resistance be higher so that it'll come out faster, but then it'll slow down. Yeah. And then let's change the particle itself to like a faded sphere. And then let's change the color from being born yellow to being born something gray. And then dyeing something lighter gray. This is where these blend modes might come in handy if we did a lighten. There, it'll show through a little bit better. Yeah. You'd put the smoke behind? Well, so would I. Maybe we will want to composite that a little bit more. Anyway, so again, this is like, go watch other tutorials of people who do this better than me. This is me just teaching you how to get into it. All right, so these two particle layers, these two black solids, I'm going to trim them so that I know that they will begin and end with that. And I'm also going to trim this null object. That way I can kind of maybe try to keep my timeline a little more tidy. So I'm going to hit Command A and then U, and that'll hide all my keyframes. All right, last bit. Let's make another solid layer, because I think shapes can be a pain to work with. Let's make another solid layer, and let's open up. Have her open up a shape with using animated masks. To do this, we could just use the black solid that we made. Again, just put this on top. But I'm going to change the opacity of this down to like 10% so that I can just barely see it. So what do we want to do? Let's use our pen tool and let's create a shape using the pen tool, and I'm going to just draw a shape that looks like it's being stretched out this way, like that. So maybe that's a good place to start. I don't even know yet. And I'm going to, with my pen tool, I'm just going to add another thing here and another one here, just so I can have a couple more points to work with. All right, so let's hit Alt-M to add a keyframe right there. And now let's go to where she starts opening her hands, and right there is where I want this thing to barely first start appearing. So I'm going to select, double click on this mask, and to transform it, I'm going to bring it all the way down here almost to nothing, and then nudge it up here using my shift and arrow keys. And if that's where it starts, let's see how well this works out. Okay, let's bring this one closer, so that happens right there. All right. I'm going to adjust this point. So now it's got some catching up to do, but we can go in and fine tune that animation a little bit. And then maybe the moment she lets go of this thing, boing, we can have it like snap into place, or like snap into a circle or something. I don't know. Snap into a shape we want it to be. All right. So we got her going up. How fast is that? Is this making sense? Yeah. All right, so let's go. I probably don't want to have these yet. Let me get rid of those. Okay, I know. Let's delete that. Let's adjust this one out here. This one out here. So she's got like a teardrop shape. All right, so now what we're going to have to do is go frame by frame. I usually start by going a few frames at a time, and like lock that one there, lock that one there, a few more frames, lock it on her grabbing point here and here, 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 here. It's pretty close. It's getting closer. There, locked up. In between frames. Yeah, they worked out pretty good. Going 3 frames at a time was good. Good enough. Okay. So she opens it up. Now we need to just, you know, make up for these slight movements. So keep it here, here, there, there. That's not really moving much. This is rotoscoping. It's very tedious. Not moving hardly at all there. Alright, there's some movement here, so I'm going to just barely lock, just to create a new keyframe, barely move those 2 points. Move this one, and then as soon as she lets go, which would probably be, I would say, that frame is the let go. Let's call it this frame. Maybe this frame. Okay, so that is let go right there. Now, just to do the snap, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just do 5 frames, and then it'll just edit this so that it turns into something else. Now's the point where I should start adding points, because it'll automatically readjust the points and the rest of it. So if I grab my pen tool, add 2 more, then I can maybe turn this into a box. To grab these vertices, I'm having to grab my pen tool, hold down Alt, and that turns that into the vertex tool so that I can make that a sharp corner. And then I go back to my selection tool, grab it, and move it. Okay, not a perfect square, but it's drawn on. It's animated looking. It's fine. I'm fine with it. Okay, so let's just see what that looks like. Thwink. Well, I don't like it. I don't have to like it though.
But this is an example that we could use nonetheless.
Yeah. Might be better to turn it into a circle.
Or try a diamond.
Yeah, diamond would be better. Diamond would probably make more sense considering the starting shape. All right. Could spend all day. Swing. Last thing I think maybe would be to have it be end up a little bit higher. Boing. There's a really cool plugin now that will create a bounce effect for animated masks. It's called After Ease. They're in public beta right now, so it's free, and you can actually just say, see the shape that mask is taking? Well, have it do a little bounce, have it go doing. It's pretty cool. But I'm going to have to manually keyframe that. This is where I want it to end up. So I'm going to maybe place that over here. Command copy, Command C, Command V. So these two are exactly the same. But what I'm going to do is have this come out that way. Come in there. And I'm going to simulate my own sort of bouncing. Oops. And see if that works. Boing. I'm going to add some easing to those. Just the basic ease would probably do all right. Right. So here we go. So
Let's
there.
let's
Boing.
see.
Okay. It doesn't
Let's
look
see.
horrible. Say what?
I'm just refreshing the memory real quick. But what's the command for turning the diamonds into sundials?
To add the easing, it's F9.
F9.
Yeah, but on your Mac keyboard, you're going to have to hold the function key down when you hit F9.
Okay.
Unless you have expose turned off. Is that expose? Is that what it's called? All right. Boing. So I don't know. It's up to you guys. I kind of like that it's just kind of ghosted right now. But we could change the color of it using the fill effect. We could, or by changing the color of the solid. We could also, one thing I was thinking was we could take this and duplicate this black layer, make it 100% opaque, and use it as a track matte for another version of our troll face. So if we drop our troll face in below that layer, and then use this as a track matte, then as soon as that thing starts bouncing into place, we can have him using position keyframes, have him slide in. Whoops. Oh, I did the wrong one. Okay, position keyframe on him. Move that keyframe over here. Drag him down out. Add lots of easing to that. And then the way I did that, that was Command-Shift-K with both of these selected. Command-Shift-K, change the influence on both of those to 80% and 80%. Click OK. And then you should slide in. Ring. You could do a text animation in there also if you wanted to. So I'm going to take both of these shape layers, or these mask layers, and I'm going to have them trim them to start right there also. And the key command for that is Alt left bracket to trim them. Same thing with these other layers that I trimmed. Alt left and right brackets. Boing. All right. Okay, so let's make our silly face guy start right here. He's over here, but I don't want him to start till she's just about to bring him in right there. So let's do a manually move in there and there and not have him start till right here. So trim that. So we've done our animating. Someone requested that I make the sound effects for the video. So that was that one. That's what that was for. All right. Now, next we need to focus on keying. Our effect for that, there's a really good Red Giant makes a really good keyer called Primat Keyer that is the one I like to use. It's really render intensive, and it's like $600 by itself. So have your employer buy that one for you. What we're going to use is Keylight. So I'm going to start typing in Keylight, and we need to put that on our layer that we need to key. So drag that down there. Keylight does a pretty good job out the box. Right now you see nothing, right? No effect has been done by Keylight yet. So what you need to do is, the first thing is you need to do screen color and select the green that you want to become invisible. I use the eyedropper. The top of this is slightly lighter than the bottom, so I go for somewhere pretty close to the head, because the head is the hardest part to key because of hair. And I just go off to the side here a little bit, select, bam. Take a look at that. Transparent background. Okay, what should we put her on? Should we put her on the moon? Let's do a Google image search for moonscape. And then she can light some fire in outer space. Ooh! That's pretty cool. It's only 720 big. Let's do That's too small. Because I'm so obsessed with the moon right now.
Resolution in Google.
Yeah, you can do search tool, size, large. See, it's still considering 720 tall as large. That would work. That would work, maybe. No. I'll do this one. 1920 by 1200. The Earth isn't very bright. Shame. All right, so let's save this image as SS07. Huh. Thank you to assets. Thank you to soulforge.com for providing us with this image today. All right, Command I, let's import that, and we need to put this on the bottom, right, underneath her. So let's drag this down. There she is. All right. That's not bad. That worked out pretty good. Let's see if we can make it better though. So let's go to her layer, select her, and underneath next to view there's a drop down box. I want to take a look at screen mat and see how we did. Now, it looks pretty good initially, right? But guess what? Anything that's gray is not is somewhat opaque. It's not totally transparent or totally translucent. Anything that's white, that's totally opaque. Okay, so that's perfect. Anything that's black, that's perfectly transparent. Anything in between, you're going to either get some ghosting effect from the green screen, which is going to happen in here, or you're going to start slightly seeing the moonscape through her shirt here. Okay, so we need to make adjustments so that everything about her is totally a white silhouette and everything behind her is completely black. So let's adjust some settings to make that happen. The first thing you can do is add some screen gain. On screen gain, I don't ever go above 110. I just turn it up slightly to try and see. Just turning it up slightly to 108 helped the background a ton. Okay, so that helped there. The next thing I do is I go to my screen mat and I clip the white or the black until, if I zoom in here, I want to try and get all these little specks. There's some specks in there gone. And I want to get that to be completely white also. So let's clip the black a little bit, just barely, till that stuff goes away. And then let's clip the white until she goes white. That might be a little heavy, but that's looking better. So just with 3 additional changes, screen gain, clip black, clip white, I was able to get a better look. Now let's see the final result. See how it looks. That's pretty good, right? This edge right here, this is her moving. That's going to be problematic unless I shot this at a really high shutter speed where there's no motion blur whatsoever. The other problematic place is in the hair. See this edge? Her hair on the side of her head right here would require us to go in and rotoscope out with duplicate the layer of her, rotoscope out the edge of her head and her hair, and do a separate key just for the edge of her hair to make it look better. Okay, so keying, while this looks pretty good, doing a really good key is a pretty intense process. Like compositing, when you see in the credits of movies, rotoscopers, that's what they do, is they go in to every frame of footage that has an effect on it, and they just make sure that every strand of hair looks good.
Poor guys.
Yeah, it's a horrible job.
I love being an intern.
Yeah, if you're an intern somewhere and there's a rotoscoping job, can
You
bet
get it.
you're going to be doing it. If you're really good at rotoscoping, though, you can stay busy. All right. So outer space is very white. We adjusted the white balance of our camera to look nice and warm under cool lighting. So one thing we might want to do is make her look like she belongs on this a little bit better by adding curves or levels. I'm going to add curves. And I'm going to go into the red and drop the lightness of the red down a little bit, which puts some additional green in. So I'm going to just bring the green down, go to the green channel, pull the green line down in between those two. And that right there made her, the gray of her overall look like she ought to be out on the moon. Now this would change if we were to say put her in a jungle. If we put her in this jungle, save image as, let's import it, put it down here, using that same color correction. Whoops. Moonscape. Control. I did, didn't I? Import jungle. Open. It might still look okay because she's pretty neutral, but with all that green around her, you might want to put some green back in. Warm it up. So let's see here. Let's go to green screen and let's add that green back in. There's also a lot of contrast in this. These blacks have a green hue to them, so let's actually take the black green and turn that up. But let's take the overall curve, the RGB curve. We need to add some contrast to it. Dang it, got too much going on in here now. RGB. Okay. Add some contrast. Looks even better, right? Like she actually belongs in there. So let's adjust this green in the blacks to make her, the black of her hair match the black of this, so that, and then the highlights up here, even the highlights up here, this is really bright stuff, it's even got green in it. Like it's just kind of overall a green looking image. And then we could maybe mess with the red, so that made her too red. You can also adjust the saturation by adding hue saturation. This part is your own creativity. Find a background to put her on, but make her look like she belongs on it. Okay, by adjusting either hue or saturation. We can add some saturation to her. That's too much. Take some away. Yeah, so that looks pretty good, but if we do take her out of the jungle now, put her back on the moon, doesn't belong on this image at all. Would you agree? I'm going to duplicate that, save one of those, but reset this one. Let's see, what did I do? Should probably add some contrast to her still on this one. But what did we do? We dropped the red down a little bit so that it graded out, which revealed extra green. So let's go to the green, pull the green down. And that looks a little bit better. So that's good for the moon. That would be good for the jungle. Now let's see how our effects look. Ooh. Boing. This is random. Pretty random video. And just like with our other projects, I'm not as interested in your actual project file as I am in your final output. So to turn in this assignment, because this is a 12-second animation or 12-second video, you need to submit a video to Canvas, preferably an MP4 or .mov that is less than 15 megabytes. If it's over 15 megabytes, you got too much data for this long of a video, especially for uploading. And let's see, let's turn on some different layers here for her. Let's turn on this curves, turn off this curves. Now she looks like she belongs on the moon. One last thing I might do here, because now that I've got my background image, this light black solid isn't working for me anymore. So I'm going to add a fill effect to it. Whoop! Cool, cool. Oh, add a stroke to that now, and she's like the iPod dancing ad from a long time ago. Right.
Just dance games.
Or just, yeah, the dance games. I put that on the wrong layer, obviously. Put it on the black solid. Right, now it's red. I'm going to make it blue. And I'm going to increase the opacity back up so that it's more like that. Right. Boing. One thing that would make that look a little more natural would be to add motion blur to it. Same thing with the crazy head dude, both versions, troll face. If you add motion blur to it, it starts looking a little bit more natural. Ping. Break. Okay, make that. Or something like it. Add your own flair. Got 3 weeks.
How long was that recording?
This is long.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an hour and 10 minutes.
Only.
It felt longer than that, didn't it? I was like, oh man, this is getting long.
Oh,
And again, this is just, I mean, all of these things, you need to go in and you need to really change the settings on the effect, know how you can screw it up, and like what it does initially, what it does to its extreme, and how to make it look better. Keylight has a lot of different settings that you can tweak to do more advanced keying. But I feel like this turned out pretty good. So yeah, send me a file for green screen. Thanks.
what's the difference between flying